My name is Nelson Walusimbi. I'm the chairman of the African Renaissance Foundation and the principal of its founding chapter in Uganda. I want to talk to you today about something that I believe in very, very deeply, and something that I've spent a very long time thinking about, researching, writing, and building towards. And I want to explain it in a way that makes sense to everybody watching, whether you're a professor, a farmer, a student, a mother, even someone who has never heard of any of these words before, because this is for all of us. The African Renaissance Foundation is an independent policy institute. Our mission is to develop economic and governance frameworks that are rooted in African philosophical traditions. We believe that Africa's economic future should be designed by Africans, and we believe that Africa already has what it needs to build that future. The social bonds, the community structures, the deep traditions of mutual obligation and collective responsibility that have sustained African societies for centuries at this point. These are assets, and they're very powerful assets. But for too long, they've been ignored or dismissed by people who assumed that the only path to prosperity was one that had to be borrowed from somewhere else. We disagree, and we are building the evidence to prove it. The Foundation's first and most developed project is the Uganda Chapter, and its flagship initiative is called the Uganda Alliance Fund. So let me explain what that is and why it matters. Uganda is a beautiful country. It's full of extraordinary people who work incredibly hard every single day under conditions that most of the world would find unimaginable. And yet, the majority of Ugandans have no economic floor beneath them. They have no safety net, they have no guarantee that a bad harvest or a sick child or even a market collapse will not push them over the edge. The International Labour Organization estimates that roughly 85% of workers across sub-Saharan Africa are in the informal economy. What that means is most people have no pension, they have no unemployment protection, they have no sick leave, no minimum wage enforcement, nothing to catch them if and when they fall. And then there's our young people. Africa has the youngest population on earth. The median age is approximately 19 years old, and that is an extraordinary resource, but only if those young people have real opportunities. The African Development Bank has estimated that youth unemployment and underemployment, that's when you're including those people working in subsistence conditions, this runs above 70% across the whole continent. So think about that. 7 out of every 10 young people, either without work, working in conditions that will never allow them to build a life of stability or dignity. This is the reality. And conventional approaches have had decades to change it. There's been foreign aid, government programs, NGO interventions. Many of these efforts have been well-intentioned, and some of them have even done some real good, but none of them have built the kind of structural, self-sustaining system that can lift an entire nation. So, we asked a different question. What if the answer was already here? The Uganda Alliance Fund is a federated system of clan-owned enterprises. Let me break that down and explain what it means. Uganda has hundreds, if not thousands, of traditional clans. These clans have existed for centuries, and they have something that most development programs spend years trying to create, and they usually fail. They have trust between the members, a shared sense of identity, and very, very deep social bond. This is capital. This is real capital, social capital. The Uganda Alliance Fund takes that social capital and it channels it into a modern economic structure. Here's how it works. First, each clan forms what we call a clan institution. This is a formally registered body, a company limited by guarantee that represents the clan's economic interests. It belongs to the clan. No outsider can buy it or take it over. Second, each clan institution creates operating companies. These are real businesses in agriculture, construction, retail, technology, transport, whatever suits the clan's resources and its people's skills. These businesses prioritize hiring from within the clan, at least 80% of the staff, giving people meaningful employment within their own communities. But they also welcome outside talent through a structured program that gives non-clan workers real rights, real participation, and a genuine path into the community. Third, when those businesses make profits, a portion goes to the clan's own social programs. Think housing, healthcare, education, training, and another portion of those funds, around 18 to 22%, goes back to the Uganda Alliance Fund. Fourth, the fund takes that money and puts it all to work for everyone. Between 30 and 40% goes into the Ubuntu Dividend pool. This is what's used for the direct cash payments to every single Ugandan citizen. Between 25 and 30% goes to the clan equalisation fund, which transfers resources to clans that are starting from behind so that no community gets permanently left out. Between 10 and 15% of those funds will go to a kingdom cultural trust. This is what preserves heritage, language, nature, tradition. Another 10 to 15% goes into a long-term intergeneration stabilization fund, building wealth that protects the whole system against economic shock. It compounds over decades, and the remainder of the funds covers the cost of running the fund itself. And now, this is the part that I think will change lives. Every Ugandan citizen, from the moment that their birth is registered, receives one Uganda Alliance share. One share. You can't sell it, you can't trade it, no one can take it from you, no court, no creditor, no family member. It's yours permanently, simply because you are Ugandan. That share entitles you to what we call a quarterly cash payment. We call it the Ubuntu Dividend. Ubuntu, the African philosophy that says, I am because we are. The total dividend pool is divided equally among every single registered citizen. A president and a subsistence farmer, they all receive the same amount. The CEO and the student, same amount. Radical equality. That's built into the legal architecture of the share itself. Uganda already has one of Africa's most developed mobile money systems. It's used by more than 70% of adults. Your dividend arrives directly on your phone. If you don't have a mobile money account, every single clan institution will also operate a physical payment point where you can go and collect your dividend in person. There is no bureaucrat who decides whether you qualify. There is no local official controlling access. There's no middleman. The payment goes directly from the dividend pool to you. Now, I want to be honest with you. In the early years, the dividend will be modest. The framework recommends that we wait to begin payments until the quarterly amount reaches a meaningful threshold. During that build-up period, the fund leads with visible services. Think community health clinics, education bursaries, vocational training centers. These are things that people can see and feel while the commercial foundation is being laid. But as more clans join, as more enterprises grow and mature, the dividend grows with them. What starts as a principle becomes over time a meaningful part of every single citizen's income. I know what some of you are thinking. You've seen systems like this promised before. You've seen powerful people take them over, hollow them out, and leave ordinary citizens with nothing. We thought about that very, very hard, and we built the protections directly into the legal architecture. Clan institutions are companies limited by guarantee. That means there's no shares to buy. No one can acquire a controlling stake because controlling stakes do not exist. Board positions have term limits, and independent inspectorates from the Uganda Alliance Fund conducts unannounced audits, and dividends flow directly to citizens through mobile money with no intermediary handling the cash. Every business in the system has a constitutional right to challenge decisions from the Federation if they believe that their commercial freedom has been unfairly restricted. And a dedicated competition panel, independent from the fund's leadership, ensures that no clan or group of clans can rig the market against anyone else. The legal framework has been designed to comply with Uganda's existing laws. Think the Companies Act of 2012, the Trustees Act, constitutional provisions, and cultural institutions. We've done the homework. Now, I want to say something very important. This is a work in progress. We've published very detailed policy papers. We have stress tested the framework's governance structures, its competition rules, its workforce mandates, its financial architecture. We've modeled the revenue projections and examined the legal compatibility from every single angle that we could find. The depth of work behind this is substantial, and all of it is available on the African Renaissance Foundation website for anyone to read, challenge, and improve. But we are not standing here claiming that we've solved everything. There is still work to be done, legal strategies to define, legislation to pursue, pilot programs to design and run, clans to engage, partnerships to build, political realities to navigate. What we have is a framework, a serious, detailed, rigorously thought through framework, one that draws on African philosophy, global best practices, and real evidence from around the world. And we are asking people to help us take it from a paper to reality. The Uganda Alliance Fund was designed for Uganda. Its legal architecture references Ugandan law. Its payment infrastructure runs on Uganda's mobile money network. Its governance draws on the specific clan and kingdom structures of Ugandan society. It is in every meaningful sense a Ugandan project. But the African Renaissance Foundation has always understood Uganda as a proof of concept. Across this continent, from the Abusua clans of Ghana to the Egbe associations of Nigeria, from the Chama savings groups of Kenya to the Umuganda traditions of Rwanda, communities have maintained exactly the kind of social infrastructure that this model required. Trust, identity, collective responsibility. These exist in different forms everywhere. If the model works in Uganda, it can be adopted, and a continent that has been told for generations that its economic salvation must come from somewhere else can begin to prove with evidence that the tools were here all along. If you've watched this far, I want to thank you, and I want to ask you for your help. There are two things that you can do right now. The first is to visit the African Renaissance Foundation website and go to the Uganda Chapter portal. There you will find a petition. Signing it tells us and tells the world that you believe this vision deserves to be pursued, that you believe Ugandans and Africans deserve an economic system designed by their own people for their own conditions, grounded in their own philosophy. Every signature matters. Every signature is a voice. The second thing that you can do is, if you're able, please donate. The research, the legal analysis, the institutional design, the stakeholder engagement required to bring this from a policy paper to a functioning institution, all of it is funded by the generosity of people who share this conviction. There is no government grant behind this. There is no corporate sponsor pulling the strings. There is only the belief that a different model is possible and the willingness to resource the work that building it requires. If you can't donate, please share this video. Share the website. Talk about it. The most valuable thing at this stage is attention from people who take these questions seriously. There is a child being born in Uganda today. She will arrive in a country of extraordinary beauty and extraordinary contradiction, a nation of fertile land and persistent hunger, of vibrant entrepreneurship and structural exclusion, of deep communal bonds and thin institutional protection. If we build what we're trying to build, something will be different for that child from the moment that her birth is registered. A share will be issued in her name. She will not need to earn it. She will not need to prove that she deserves it. It will be hers because she is Ugandan, and because the people who came before her decided that no one in their nation should stand outside the circle of prosperity. I am because we are. We are because I am. Help us build this.